Higher tax for landlords. That's the basic message from the recent budget. Is this good news? I'm sure tenants might be really happy with this. Landlords not so happy. But actually, there's a bigger consequence I want to talk about in this video and how and why this impacts you as a property investor. So my name's Simon Zucchi. I've been investing in property for 30 years. I'm the founder of the Property Investors Network, the longest running and largest network for property investing in the UK. I'm the founder of Crowd Property that's lent over £450 million to UK developers. And I've helped thousands of people like you become more successful investors. It does feel like for years, consecutive governments have been pounding property investors and persecuting people for being landlords. Maybe this is to win votes with tenants, who knows, but I think that's a false economy really. But let's look at the reality of these increased taxes for property investors. What does it mean for you? Now, the Labour government in their budget were very clear, said we're not going to raise taxes. And for most taxes, they didn't raise the rates of most taxes. They did freeze the thresholds, by the way, which is a stealth tax. You get this fiscal drag where people earn more money over time. They slip into the new higher rate tax bracket. So by not increasing the thresholds, the government is going to bring in new revenue over the next few years from those tactics. However, they have increased income tax for unearned income. There are three areas that this covers. First of all, interest. If you're earning interest, you're going to pay an extra 2%, no matter what tax level you are. The lower rate tax level is 20%, but it's going to be 22% with the extra 2%. The higher rate tax is going from 40 to 42%, and the additional rate is going from 45 up to 47% tax rate. So interest is affected. Property income is also affected. So if you own properties in your own name, you know we're already affected by Section 24, where we can't offset all of the interest costs on our mortgages to reduce the amount of tax we pay. So some landlords have a situation where the amount of income coming in from the rent isn't enough to cover the management fees, the maintenance, and all the interest they're paying on the mortgage. So they're not actually making any money, but yet on paper, they're making this phantom profit, and at the end of the tax year, they have to pay some money to HMRC. What this means is those people are now going to be paying this higher tax on their phantom profit of an extra 2%. If you're a higher rate taxpayer and you were paying 40%, you're going to be paying 42%, which actually is a 5% increase in the amount of tax you're going to pay. So that's quite a big increase on something that already isn't a very fair situation. Now you might be thinking, well, that's okay, I've got my properties in a company. And moving forward, probably for most people, investing in a company structure seems to be the best way to do it. However, the third area they've put this extra 2% on unearned income tax is on dividends. And so if you have a property company, the way people normally pay themselves, they pay themselves the minimum salary to reduce their tax, and then the rest is paid on dividends. But now they've added an extra 2% to all of the tax dividend levels as well. So no matter which way you pay yourself, if you've got income coming in from property in your own name or in a company then you're paying dividends, you're going to end up paying more tax. Frankly, I think this is going to be the final nail in the coffin for many property investors. I'm regularly speaking to investors at our network of meetings all around the UK on our webinars. And there's two camps. There are the people who say, you know what, this is ridiculous. This is the final nail in the coffin. We've had Section 24. We've had the Renters' Rights Bill come in. We've got increasing interest rates. And now we've got to pay all this extra tax. There are lots of investors, more than ever before, who are looking at selling up and getting out of property. And there's a group of people who are new to property or existing investors who say, well, okay, it's maybe not as good now as it used to be, but we still need accommodation. There is a massive shortage of rental accommodation in this country. All political parties agree we need 300,000 new homes a year. The Labour government committed to help us build 1.5 million homes, which, by the way, governments don't build homes. They're supposed to create the environment to stimulate people like you, me, house builders, to develop properties. And that's not working so far. So we're never going to get 300,000 homes a year. So what this means is underlying there's this huge demand for accommodation. So although it's maybe not as good as it used to be, there is a group of people who recognize now as an incredible opportunity, as I believe now, literally right now, as you're watching this video. If you're subscribed to the channel, you hit the bell icon, you're going to get these videos as soon as they come out. And by the way, if you're not subscribed, I highly recommend you do that. If you haven't hit the bell icon, make sure you do that, because a lot of my videos are timely videos that come out. And as I film this video right now, as you're watching this video right now, getting out there, finding great deals at this time of year is a great thing, because there's not much competition at this time of year. And actually right now, there's not a lot of competition, because many investors have decided to leave the market, or they're sitting back waiting. They're waiting for interest rates maybe to come down further. They're waiting to see the full impact of the renters' rights bill, and many people were waiting to see what happened in the budget. And as a direct result of what happened recently in the budget, I know we're going to see more and more investors looking to sell. Now, what's this going to do to the property market? If you have all these investors looking to sell, by the way, there's about 2.5 million landlords in the UK. Many of those, the majority, only have one property. They're probably accidental landlords. Property is very much a part-time kind of activity for them. Some of those landlords have 10, 20, 50, hundreds of properties. But imagine, I don't know, 10, 15% of landlords decide, you know what, we're going to sell our properties. That could be hundreds of thousands of properties coming onto the market over the next 6 months or so. Now, with that increased supply, and frankly, with not much of an increase in demand, because at the moment, it's a buyer's market. That means there are more people looking to sell than there are looking to buy. So it's in our favor as buyers. There could be an oversupply of property. Now, there will be many investors like me who are snapping up some great opportunities. And I recommend, if you want to grow your portfolio, the next 3 to 6 months is a great time to be doing that. But there are also investors, as I said, who are going to wait. They might think, well, maybe interest rates are going to come down. If I buy a house when it's a lower rate, I'm going to have to pay less each month for my mortgage. I'm going to make more cash flow. So they're waiting for that. However, I think there's a real danger to wait for the right time. Whether you're waiting for the right market time, you're waiting for interest rates to be right, because often people wait and wait and wait for years and years, and they never actually go and buy that next property. Or they're trying to wait for the perfect time and they miss it. To be honest, no one knows when it's the perfect time to invest. I don't know, you don't know, no one knows. And so by finding a great property that works now, that gives you the right cash flow, you know you can rent out, you're prepared to hold long term, it doesn't really matter what happens to property prices, because long term they're going to go up because of the sheer supply and demand in the UK. It doesn't really matter what happens to interest rates, because when you get a mortgage, you can fix for 2, 3, 5 years. And that's what I'm doing. I'm fixing for 5 years, so I know exactly what my rate's going to be for the next 5 years. So it doesn't matter if it goes up or down, I'm okay. And I recommend you should do the same thing. So get educated, get out there, look at your properties, recognize this extra tax is a problem for many people, but what you need to do about it is you need to do more profitable strategies. I don't think in most areas, single let, buy to let, where you buy, you rent to a family or a young couple or an individual, that doesn't really work. What you need to be doing is one of the 2 high cash flow strategies. And what I'm going to be doing a lot more of, and I'm going to be teaching my students to do in 2026, is either houses of multiple occupation, HMOs, where you rent out individual rooms. And by the way, when times are tough and people can't afford to live on their own, actually living in a room in a house where you pay one amount, which is the rent and the bills, is far more cost effective. And actually, if you have a really good HMO, you should only do good high-end HMOs. It becomes a real community and people want to live there and may stay there for many, many years. So high-end HMOs is a great strategy you should do. And the other strategy is short-term accommodation, serviced accommodation, Airbnb, that kind of thing. There are many benefits. There are some tax advantages of that. There are some benefits in that people are not tenants, they're guests, so you're not affected by the renters' rights bill. So we're going to be putting a lot of videos out over the next few months about these 2 strategies, HMOs and serviced accommodation. They are high cash flow, but they are more involved. There is more work than a normal single let property. Now, you don't necessarily have to do it. I don't manage my properties myself, have other people do it for me, and I can afford to pay someone to do that because there's such high cash flow from those strategies. But I highly recommend you do high cash flow strategies. It doesn't matter if you've got to pay a bit more tax, because you've still got lots of profit that make them well worth doing. And with less competition in the market and high demand, this is a great time to be using these strategies. So as ever, if you know what you're doing, now is always a great time to invest. Yes, it's not good news we're paying tax. We just need to adapt our strategy, recognize now's a great time to buy, and use high cash generating strategies. I do hope you found this video useful. I'd love to know, are you more interested in HMOs or service accommodation? Let me know in the comments below. And also, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell icon to make sure you're notified anytime a timely video like this comes out. And please do like the video. It helps the algorithm, more people get to see it. It helps the channel grow. So thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. Make the most of the current market. As ever, I encourage you to invest with knowledge, invest with skill.